morning, South San Francisco. This is Rich Lee, your Assistant City Manager and podcast host and producer. I am overjoyed to really have two special guests with us from Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center. And if I could turn it over to first Nelmarie to introduce yourself, and then Monique to introduce yourself. So Nelmarie, please.
Yes, good morning, Rich. Thank you for having us here. We're super excited. My name is Nelmarie Vilaró Caro. I am the Director of Collective Impact and have been with PCRC for almost 10 years.
And Monique?
Thank you. I am Monique Wright Gory. I am the Director of Community Engagement and Collective Impact and have been with PCRC for the last almost 3 years.
Thank you for using the acronym. It's quite a mouthful to say Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center.
It is. It absolutely is.
So I was thinking about this as I was driving in, and for me, being in local government, there was a point in my career where I discovered and found that it was my calling in life. This is what I'm supposed to do, one of my purposes. And I'm curious for both of you, how did you kind of arrive at this is where I'm supposed to be at this time and serving the community?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and I studied mediation there and saw that that was definitely something I wanted to do. But more than the mediation process itself as a way of life and teaching the skills of mediation as a way to approach life. So the active listening, the being open to hearing other people's perspectives and thoughts and understanding that the intention might be different to the impact that it has. So all of that. When I moved here, I saw that there was an opening at PCRC for training in that, and that has been my work home ever since because I truly enjoy that. Those are skills that we all have. I just think that life sometimes buries it for us because of circumstances, and I think reminding people over and over that this is a way that we can live together in harmony, because conflict is not going anywhere. So yeah, that is my why.
And Monique, how about you?
Great question. I feel like my background started in corporate hospitality, and so I was of service in that sense, and then moved into wellness and nonprofit work, and still of service of others as well as myself. Filling my own cup has always been something that's been hugely important to me, and so I feel like I am here for that purpose, which is to be of service, whether it's myself or others, and building community in that way.
So I'll say how we got connected was through the Leadership Council of San Mateo County. Nelmarie and I were in the core program for last year's class, and I think it was the last day or penultimate session we had. We worked on what were called reciprocity circles.
Yes. And
in the left-hand column were things that you do well and that you could perhaps help other classmates with. And I had listed podcasting, and Nelmarie was one of a handful of class members that were interested in it. And then on just for anecdotal information, like on the right side, for me, I'm trying to learn Spanish, and I was trying to be more conversational, and there are certain phrases that are confusing to a monolingual person only speaking English. And Nelmarie was one of the folks that was nice enough to say, yeah, I'm happy to help you out with that. So this is really that reciprocity circle come to fruition, a chance for the city to highlight the work that PCRC is doing, not just in South San Francisco, but in the greater county. So I wanted to get a chance for both of you to kind of chime in on what is PCRC's mission and how it perceives its role in the county.
Yeah,
I would love to speak on PCRC's mission. I think that it is hugely, it's so vast. But the major component of PCRC's mission, I think, is to build additional vibrancy. Communities are already vibrant. They are made up of so many different cultures and people and languages, as you just mentioned. And PCRC wants to come in to support all of that, be a little bit more vibrant in a nonviolent type way. As Nelmarie mentioned, conflict, it's there. We all are going to be dealing with it at some point, but it's how do we have the tools? And so I think our mission to build vibrancy and to support and serve our communities, live in a fruitful way, has made me personally fall in love with the work and the mission that we all uphold daily.
Yeah, I think one of the special things about PCRC is that we meet people where they're at. So we don't come with this magic toolbox and say, hey, this is what you've been missing all your life. But it's rather than, can you tell us where you're at, what you need, what's happening? And then from the things we can offer, we'll assess with them. So we don't do anything siloed. We don't come and say, this is your solution. We meet with the people, understand what they're going through, and explain the process that we would do, but with their input. So building that together is, as Monique mentioned, building it with community, understanding and respecting what they're going through, and just providing maybe that reminder or a little bit of extra skills that can make you prosper, that can make you feel sure of what you're doing, and also empowered to do that and move forward.
You know, I can speak for this community, and I think, you know, San Mateo County at large, and it's one of the things I appreciate about growing up in this community is we're so diverse. We have people from all sorts of backgrounds, all living together in kind of one big melting pot, and frankly, it's one of the reasons why I'm trying to learn, you know, foreign languages, is because I want to be able to connect and understand.
Yeah.
And I think that's one area that PCRC excels at, right? Because you have staff that are bilingual, and you're able to understand what they're going through. But you know, there are core services beyond, you know, solely conflict resolution that I want to dig into, but I wanted to kind of explore PCRC's core services. And first, that comes to mind is mediation. And can you kind of outline what kinds of community conflicts are most common here in the community, and how does PCRC help to address them?
Absolutely. I think I'll start by saying that people hear Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center and they feel we're here just for when you have a conflict, like when things are already exploding. And that's a misconception that I have very much in my heart wanting to change. Because as we mentioned at the beginning, conflict is inherent in nature and in our lives, but how we approach it or how we view it, like, it might sound cliche, but it's true. It is an opportunity for change. It is an opportunity to see things differently, to understand another perspective, a new perspective. As you were saying, we come from so many different backgrounds that it's an opportunity to enhance your knowledge about life. So we've had, I say that because mediation's always or almost always is also seen as, you know, I have a problem with someone, I need that. But sometimes that's not necessarily true. We can have a perfect relationship, a working relationship, and we're stuck on something. And we might say, you know what if we bring a third person in and they can help us navigate that spot that we're not seeing clearly. And then Monique comes in and says, sure. What she does is she asks questions to help guide the conversation. She won't give us suggestions. She won't solve the problem with us or for us. But she's there to make sure that, Rich, I listen to everything that you say, and you make sure that I'm listening as well, and vice versa. And that creates a space of understanding and being open to different and new perspectives. What we mostly see is neighbor to neighbor and landlord tenant and family mediations. Those are the most common ones. But we also do a lot of mediation inside workplaces. Mm-hmm. So employees with supervisors, and it's really, that's like the cherry on top when they reach mediation, but there have been things that have been happening before, And so we try to approach that sometimes before mediation with coaching, one-on-one coaching, and even after mediation with training. So we PCRC offers like a holistic approach. Yes, mediation is one of them, but again, we meet people where they're at, so we need to understand and make sure that mediation is the appropriate thing for you at that moment. So we do the same with when clients come and we get requests. We make sure that we understand what they're going through and what their expectation is and what outcome they want in order to say, okay, let's move on with mediation, or is there somewhere else in the county that you might benefit better from? And so we sometimes don't take in the case of mediation, but we refer them to other places that will provide the service that they're really needing or looking for at that moment.
All right. And can you explain, and fortunately or unfortunately, I haven't had to rely on PCRC yet, but can you explain for the members of the community that are listening or watching that might be in that situation and they may not have been aware of PCRC, how does the free or low cost mediation program work? Maybe walk us through the process.
Absolutely. So they can access our services either by phone or we have on the website a form that they fill out. And then we have volunteers that do intake. So they would call, and it's an open space where people can tell us what is going on in that moment in their lives, and then that's where we decide if it's mediation or not, and with them as well. We let them know that, first of all, mediation is voluntary. So party 2 needs to be on board with it as well. We explain, as I did here, that it's very important for them to know that this is their session, this is their movement. It's not that we're coming in to give solutions. And I think that's super important for them to know, and that is making sure that the expectations are clear. We do co-mediation, which means there's always at least two mediators. And regarding cost, we have contracts with some cities. So if it's a contracted city, it will be $60 per party, but they don't have to pay until they both agree to mediation. If it's not a contracted city, it's $100 per party, and there's a $50 non-refundable fee for opening the case for party 1. Okay. Party 2 doesn't have to pay anything until we reach mediation. If party 1 says yes, they're excited, they understand the process, then we ask for all the information for party 2. We send out a letter of invitation to party 2. Party 1 always gets a copy. We don't do cold calls, so we give time for party 2 to learn about us. We send our brochure, we send information about mediation, because one of the obstacles, or the biggest obstacles, is that many times when party 2 receives a call or information from us, they think we're representing party 1. Right. So making sure that people understand that we're completely neutral, that we're in the community, with the community, and for the community, that our volunteers are part of the community. So it's community working with community to help them. So we want to give them that space. After that, we do call to follow up. And if they agree, then we find a time and a place that's convenient for both parties. So if, for example, it would be here in South San Francisco, we would see if the library is available, if a community center is available. And if not, we also do via Zoom, if that's more convenient for them. So we work with them, and then we find volunteers that are available at their time. And then we do a 3-hour mediation. Sometimes it's not needed, the 3 hours. Sometimes more than 3 hours is needed, so we do another session. We can do up to 3 sessions for the same cost. We don't charge per session.
Okay. And you mentioned a website and a phone number
Yes.
for our community members that aren't familiar with you. Would you mind sharing those?
Yes. The website is pcrcweb.org, and then there's a link that says request a service, and that's where it would be. And then the number.
The number I will do in post-production. 650-345-PCRC or 7272.
Remember the first one, because that goes directly to our mediation line.
Okay. So I mentioned before that it's not just mediation that PCRC offers in its core services. There's other core services that you provide, and one of those is facilitation and meetings. So let's say you have local government or nonprofits, neighborhood groups, HOAs, they reach out and they need help. How does your facilitation service come into play?
Do you want to?
Sure. Like Nelmarie mentioned, we do facilitation training and we meet folks where they are. So it always starts with just a conversation. What is it that you want to get out of the meeting or facilitation? What is it that you want your support or whomever is going to be in the audience to receive, to take away, and what input do you want from them? And so asking these questions allow us to get kind of a baseline of how we are going to show up for not only the client, but also the community that we're going to be serving or that they're going to be serving. And so it's really awesome, I think. Nelmarie mentioned it also, that we move in this proactive approach to try to anticipate some things that might come up so that our clients feel, I don't want to, I mean, I guess a good word to use is held and supported, and that they can let go. Having a third party come in oftentimes gives them the space to receive, to be a part of, to have their voices also heard, and to just be seen in this way. So yes, facilitations and trainings are really in the core of what PCRC does. And then there's these great trainings that PCRC has. Speaking about mediation, all of our staff are mediators, and we do require that of our volunteers as well, or mediation trained. And the trainings, basic facilitation training, we actually have one coming up soon, and it's just an opportunity to pour back into the communities that we serve and offer tools that we find really helpful. So someone might call and say, this is what we're dealing with, and they may think that, or not may think, they may say that they want, customer service training. And after asking a lot of different questions, it's like, yes, that would be amazing. So we'll do customer service training. But how about, what do you think about active listening? What do you think about de-escalation training or receiving feedback? So trying to peel back some layers so that we can support what they actually want and how we can show up for them.
You mentioned you have a facilitation coming up. Are you able to share, maybe a recent example or one coming up that is public information to kind of, demonstrate what PCRC has done in that area?
Mm-hmm. There was an incident that happened at one of our community partners' spaces, and it was a high intense situation, and so they called PCRC, which we were already partners, so we kind of knew the space that we were going into. And so as we show up with our staff. It's like an all hands on deck thing. We show up with our staff, we show up with some of our volunteers and folks that really know who PCRC is. And in that way, we're able to sometimes de-escalate the situations, make sure that everybody is seen, valued, and heard. And we not offer solutions, but we try to peel or get all of the information that is coming up for folks so that everyone walks away with a sense of, I was heard, I know exactly what's coming next, or I'm taking away whatever the client wanted to offer other folks. And so, yeah, we our executive director often says PCRC is the one that runs into the fire. And so in that light, we run in because we are of service and want to support the bigger pictures.
So we've kind of covered mediation and facilitation and meetings. Another core service that PCRC provides is training and capacity building. And can you, either one of you, illustrate what kinds of conflict resolution or communication training workshops that PCRC offers and to whom?
Yeah. That it's a broad spectrum because again, I will say we meet people where they're at, and we want to hear what, as Monique mentioned, they share their wanting, and maybe give a little bit more input after we hear what's going on. So it can be broken down into very specifics like active listening or effective speaking, dealing with difficult situations, intent versus impact only. Like we could break them out, or we could do one that is combined. It depends on the purpose of it. So sometimes they reach out to us because they deal, for example, with customer service and they need a specific reinforcement in an area. But other times it's just professional development that they want to give their staff. And we think of our trainings, just like I mentioned how I see mediation, that's how we see our trainings as well. It's more than just professional development, they're life skills. Like our skills you can use every day and any day. And actually I encourage people to use them any day and every day, because it's most difficult in our personal lives. I still have to back and say, what happened there in my personal life. It is super difficult to put those skills into place with people that you're super comfortable with and that you feel you can be your absolute self in whatever way you're feeling. So I think those reminders and those skills, and it's just a refresher of people, hey, let's show up like this in life, because that's the way I think many of us want to receive as well. So why not ourselves do it also? So we do effective communication as well. As Monique mentioned, we're going to have a basic facilitation training. It's a comprehensive training, a 2-day training, and it's for anyone and everyone interested in leading meetings and understanding from the pre to the post of meetings. So sometimes people just think of meetings as going in with a very basic agenda, but if you want a productive meeting, there's a lot more thought process that needs to go in that. And now with the virtual space also, how do you manage that? Do you do small groups? Are you doing, how are you doing voting? Is it consensus? Like, what do you want of each meeting, right? And sometimes we don't think about that. It's just, oh my goodness, I have to do a meeting and that's it. I got it over with. What did you really get from it? So I think as we've mentioned as well, it's not about putting out fire always. It's about building skills and being able to be on the preventive side as well. Being prepared and having those skills so that when that time comes, we have them. And our trainings offer that as well. Actually, when there is a high escalated situation, we don't suggest that we do train. Like if people come and say, hey, this is happening, we want a training, we kind of take a few steps back. And our workplace coach is amazing at that. She says, what if we, depending on the situation, let's do one-on-one coach and understand what the person really is going through, or the people in the workspace. And then maybe there's a mediation that's needed, because if you go into a training with all of these emotions so high, we're not going to soak up what we really want to give you. And it might escalate actually the situation, because you might feel you're being scolded instead of saying, oh my god, like they're really thinking, there's intention behind the why you're bringing the training. And we want people to be able to receive that, again, not just for your workplace or wherever you're at, but for life in general.
Can you, I know this about you, and we kind of touched on PCRC being able to go to where people are at. That includes multiple languages. So I know you're multilingual. I believe it's Portuguese, Spanish, English, but I'm sure there are other languages that PCRC also is fluent in and able to have different audiences. And can you talk about the multilingual and what languages are supported, but also the culturally responsive design?
Sure. In-house, we have people that speak Tongan and Spanish. Besides English, everyone speaks English. Volunteers, we're always looking for volunteers that are multi-language so that they can provide and help that is in facilitation or mediation, or even trainings. And if none of the above are, we do interpretation as well. So we hire someone. We think, as Monique mentioned, yes, we're there for our client, and there's also community, and that part we never forget. So we want to make sure that whatever we're bringing, it's being accessible to everyone. So that is one of the main questions that we ask at the beginning of any assessment or any intake, is the language piece. And that needs to be covered in order for us to feel that we're providing a service of quality. And then do you want to talk on the cultural piece?
So yes, PCRC shows up in a way that supports community. Nelmarie has mentioned it a couple times, meeting folks where they are. And so with our diverse space and office and folks that we serve, not only do we serve these individuals, we are made up of the individuals. They see us and we see them. And so the way that we show up is, I think, authentic in that way. Because yes, we are neutral, but yes, we all carry our own natural beings with us as we show up as well. So
it reminds me of an interview I did earlier this year with NAMI, and NAMI, provides peer-to-peer support services, but it was very much in the similar spirit. They understand where people are coming from because they have lived experience, right? They themselves also went through mental health issues. So they can certainly understand when someone is going through something similar. So, you and your volunteers and your staff, they have that lived experience and cultural experience, so they can understand where the support is needed. I also wanted to cover, actually, I want to take a quick tangent. You mentioned volunteers, especially those that maybe have, are multilingual. Can you highlight one, how someone can volunteer for PCRC, and two other specific multilingual languages that you are looking for?
Absolutely. So volunteering is also through our website. There's a link if you're interested in volunteering, and it can be in whatever your heart is telling you that you want to volunteer. I think we have space for everything. If it's mediation, we do require that you're certified in mediation or that you go through our mediation training. But there's also, we have sister organizations around the Bay Area that offer them, and we'll take those in. Volunteers go through a process just to understand our mediation process specifically, so that it's uniform for all community. But we also love having volunteers in facilitations. Our facilitations are a lot about doing small groups, so that we're able to gather from all community members. And so volunteers are needed and required in those spaces. So as well, we do require a little bit of experience, or at least a training in a basic facilitation. And then we always offer also, we don't throw our volunteers in, we offer a process of observation and making sure that they're comfortable and making sure that we are what they expected. Also, we want them to feel at home with us. But there's also training opportunities. If they are trained and they're trainers and they feel comfortable being, we love the model of co-training. So we don't try to send off even staff by themselves. We love having someone there, and I think it shows the way we work as well, and it shows that we're human and that we might get triggered, or that we might go blank, or that we might go to a place and see someone that we knew and get nervous. I don't know, whatever it is, you have that person there with you. So our volunteers, again, are never thrown into the fire by themselves. They do a lot of, we have amazing volunteers in our workplace space with our workplace coach that are just phenomenal and have been with us for years. I say one of them over 15 years and the other one over 10 years easily. And I think we're looking for all the languages that are spoken across the San Mateo County specifically. There's never enough, I'd say, because again, because we work with the community and their availability, not vice versa. There's always a need for someone to be there in that time and place, right? So again, all of the languages, we there's never enough. Right now, actually, we just have one Spanish speaking volunteer, and we've been getting a few Spanish mediations. So it has been another one of our staff and myself doing them.
Right.
But we volunteers want to do that, but we need a little bit more of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last core service area I wanted to cover is your conflict coaching and restorative practice, especially the restorative circle practices. I hadn't heard of that before. Can you tell us a bit more about both of those, and how do these work in schools and workplaces locally?
Yeah. I'll do the coaching, and I'll let Monique share more about the school restorative practices. So the one-on-one coaches are really opportunities. It can be different scenarios, but it's sometimes people are not ready to come to the table and speak with the other person, but they want to speak about what's going on. And so having that neutral person, again, guide you. The coach is not telling you what to do. They're not telling you how you need to move forward. With questions, they might be giving you or reminding you of some tools that you already have, or maybe giving you new ones. And you build that strength and you build that confidence in yourself to say, okay, now I'm ready to go to a table and share what's been going on with me at the workspace, so that we together can move forward for the benefit of the whole workspace. So our conflict coaching is a one-on-one, and it really depends on the person and their availability. It's never quite one session only. You can't get as much, but we won't have you like commit to 11 or 12 sessions. It's usually about 3 or 4. And those can extend if you say, I'm still not comfortable. I still need a little bit more. But the encouragement is just like mediation. We would love people to be able to talk conflicts on their own and not have to reach us. With the conflict coaching is the same. We want to give you the tools and the reminder that you can do this on your own. Maybe just practicing a little bit with a person that's neutral and has no stake in what's going on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Restorative practices, I feel like, is happening all around, and sometimes folks just don't know that that's actually what they're doing. We have at PCRC staff members that are trained in restorative justice practices or restorative practices that are stationed in schools across San Mateo County. And the nice thing about that is they're immersed in the school culture. And so they're getting to know the students. They're getting to know some of their stories. They're getting to know the staff members, and offering space for both staff and students to show up in a way that is restorative. Holding circles is something that is, dates way back before it was a word that we used. And the nice thing about it is it's honoring the practice of holding space, energetically, listening. I feel like I keep saying hearing people, listening to people, seeing people, and just recognizing that there is this space where your voice is heard, and recognizing that it's not always, pushing kids out of school, but how are we supporting their education, keeping them in school, and also figuring out, like, what's the bigger picture? What are you feeling? What's going on? How can we support you? How can we support that? So that maybe there's a different way that we all show up in this space, and whether that's with students or it might be with, admin teams and teachers, but just offering practices that support healing rather than, pushing our younger generation out of.
And I think it's what Monique mentioned before about peeling back layers. Restorative practices lets you do that instead of reacting to something immediately. Let's pause and let's see what's really beneath all of that.
So I wanted to move on to your impact in the community and systems. And can you tell me about PCRC's civic engagement efforts, and how do you elevate resident voices in public decision making?
Okay. So we are honored enough to walk alongside Avelia Chidas, who works in community. She is absolutely the definition of. She is or has a group of community members that she has walked into spaces, has trained, and has guided along this journey. And they now show up for community council meetings. They write letters to senators and county members, and they are now determining that they also have voice here in this community. And so I think that's really powerful when it comes to uplifting folks and offering people the tools so that they can empower themselves to show up in these spaces and walk alongside absolutely anybody, whomever they are having conversations with. So I think civic engagement has been a huge part of our community space and neighborhoods at PCRC.
How has PCRC responded to recent countywide challenges? I mean, we've had affordable housing pressures, we've had public policy issues affecting local businesses. Can you think of any collaborations you've had to mediate any tensions or support long-term businesses?
Yeah, we have long-term contracts and partnership with the county, and then obviously with cities within the county. And sometimes we need to remind them that we're here, and sometimes we don't. I feel we remind them intentionally that we're here before in the preventive, and they remember that we're here when there's fire. But there's always this relationship, and it's in different scenarios. It can be from trainings because of shifts that have happened and they want to offer new space, or there's people transitioning into new spaces and they want to offer. Or because there's things happening inside and there needs to be a facilitative conversation. We just want everyone to have the space, we meaning whomever's reaching out to us. The conveners want to have a space for everyone to share the impact that whatever change is happening is having on them, and then making sure that they move in a way that that shows care, and that shows empathy, and that shows partnership within that organization. We offer neutral space. We offer a neutral space where, again, we don't have a specific stake, but everything that does happen in the county ultimately impacts us and our community. So I think, and I'll mention it again, Monique said it before, we always make sure that community, in whatever sense it is in that moment, because community can mean employees at a workspace, community can mean students and staff at a school, community can mean just community in neighborhoods, right? So it has different definitions for us, but it's always the majority of the people and the impacted folks that we very much have on our forefront. Like, we don't forget about them anytime that we receive a request. That is, we want to make sure that whomever is the convener understands that the impact that they're having, we want to make as minimal as possible or in the best possible way. So we are always bringing that up and to the table.
Okay.
I love that you mentioned how we meet community where they are a couple of times. There is, we just actually had a listening session. So the concept was talk to all community members, see what it is that's needed, because we've been here before in this state of our world. And so how can we figure out what you need today? And so we invited a ton of community members to come to a space to have this conversation. We then reached out to other community-based organizations to try to figure out what services is everybody offering right now, and how can we meet our community members where they are, because this is what they are saying straight from their mouth that they need. And then we are in the third step of that now in bringing both parties together. So breaking bread, I think, is always the way to kind of just let your hair down and hang out and just have real authentic conversations. And so another way to meet community where they are and try to get in front of what is actually happening in our counties, in our world, and how we are going to show up to power build what's going on.
So, Nelmarie, Monique, thank you so much for joining with me today, and looking forward to ongoing collaboration between the city and PCRC.
Thank you, Rich, for having us.
Thank you, Nelmarie Vilaró Caro and Monique Wright Gory. For more information about Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center, visit pcrcweb.org or 650-345-PCRC or 7272. For more information about the City of South San Francisco, visit www.ssfca.gov. Featured music is People Music by Herbie Hancock, composer, Colin Hogan, arranger, recorded by the Electric Squeezebox Orchestra. Until the next time, this is Rich Lee, Assistant City Manager and podcast host and producer, signing off.